challenge we face is an invitation to rise, to grow, and to discover who we truly are. I believe there's a divine purpose behind every story. And in each episode, we seek to uncover that. So let's go beyond motivation, find out what really inspires you with me in this new podcast series called Inspirations with Dr. Sujit Paul. Namaskar. Inspiration with Dr. Sujit Paul is such a property that takes us miles ahead for all of you to understand that what goes beyond passion. Today we have one such gracious guest with us, Shri Gauri Maulekhi, who is a renowned animal welfare expert. Thank you, Gauriji, for gracing us in this beautiful set today. How are you today?
I'm good, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Gauriji. So what sparked your interest in animal welfare and how did you become an animal rights expert?
I think when I was very young, I had this very innate sense of justice, which I felt was not being delivered to species other than humans. There's so many organizations and so many people who are working for humans of various societal levels, but when it comes to species other than us who don't speak our language, who don't suffer from the same problems as us, and their problems are many times bigger and many times more different, we treat them as commodities. I think that's inherently unfair. So it's a sense of fairness that brought me to working for them.
And what's the current state of animal welfare in India and what are some pressing issues that needs attention?
Like any other developing country, we have an excellent set of laws and abysmal implementation. So awareness is low, implementation of law is low. But the good thing is that our country is culturally aligned with animal welfare. It's culturally, it comes naturally to us to be kind to animals. Ahimsa, Vasudev Kutumbakam. These are things that have been in our, in our blood. It's in our DNA. So we are kind people, and that's what is our saving grace.
So, as we understand that how India is evolving, how have you seen this entire Delhi NCR issue of cruelty against dogs that's been taken up? What's your take on this?
I think it's manufactured. It's not an organic issue. It's not that dogs are going around like packs of wolves biting people. All this is a made-up, manufactured issue. We can easily resolve this problem by a good animal birth control program, like other states have done, like UP has done, like Uttarakhand has done. But here in Delhi, the program has been riddled with corruption, and a few bites have been inflated to, such a level that it surprises me that so many people have started objecting to dogs. They've started, in fact, there's a random society in East Delhi, garbage-filled society. They just throw their garbage out of their windows. But when it comes to street animals, they want all of them out.
Yeah, true.
So, and then they compare it with places like, oh, but then New York mein to nahi hota hai. So,
but they themselves are throwing garbage out of streets, etc.
Garbage they don't have a problem with.
Right.
They have a problem with dogs, they have a problem with pigeons, they have a problem with cats, probably every other species, but they would absolutely, litter around, throw their own furniture outside, not worry about the, dampness or the condition of the building. But kutte bahar hone chahiye, because that's how it is in New York.
We work very closely with many people all across the country. I'll take one step ahead of this entire ecosystem of animal abuse. See, typically, the entire biology is divided into either plants or animals, right? Even we are animals to an extent as mammalia. Right. So we find a huge animal abuse of human species of women inside the home, which are not even spoken about, or there's a huge amount of domestic violence that actually goes through. no one talks anything about it, and it's absolutely fine as people say, but it's not fine. So we find, women suppressed of their thoughts, women suppressed of their needs, women beaten up in their home, and they're abused much worse than what we actually see. So
You're right, and I'm glad we're talking about it because it's all a part of our evolution. It'll get better, but it was much worse when we started off as a civilized society. We used to forget women. We used to enslave people. We enslaved an entire continent of Africa, right? Men, women, children, everybody became commodities, right? Even in those days, even among the Westerners, the white people, women did not have the right to vote. They were still considered as baby makers sitting at home. But, you know, by and by, women got emancipated. But if we look at the colonial animal welfare laws, they also started with don't be cruel to animals in public places. Inside your homes, you can beat up an animal to death, but you can't be cruel on public places. In fact, that's the law we inherited from the British in 1890. 1890, we had a Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, which says you couldn't be cruel to animals on the street. So, even in courts, the argument used to be whether the cruelty happened in a public place or in a private place. So, that law was also there,
yeah, so what
which was
happens is
the
that,
new
yeah,
law,
true,
of course,
yeah,
changed.
the new law changed, exactly. So as a trustee of people for animals, can you discuss your experience working with policymakers to drive the change?
When I started working on policies way back in 2010, a little before that, there was a lot of hesitation, especially among older generations, to change. They were very, very reluctant because, as it is, with the bureaucracy, status quo is everything. जैसे चल रहा है वैसे चल रहा है. So to change anything, one had to push a lot. I see a lot of hope in the young
Yeah,
administrators.
yeah.
They're coming with new ideas, they're more flexible, they want to learn from how other countries have done things, and that's where I see the hope.
Right. So, also, when we speak about animal abuse and similar, so there are a lot of people in India who do keep pets. And there are a lot of societies across various states, who actually also objects keeping pets for no factual reasons. Even the courts have not spoken about objecting to keep pets. So, could you enlighten our audience about what the laws actually says, and if at all, um an individual staying in an apartment or similar, they find that okay, the neighbors are objecting the pets, what they should do?
Okay, it is everybody's right to have a pet. Of course, it should be a legitimate pet. Nobody can keep crocodiles at home. But if you're keeping a dog or a cat, uh, it's perfectly legitimate. Nobody can object it. Just like my neighbor can't tell me whether I should wear red or green today. The same way, my neighbor can't tell me whether I should or should not keep a dog. In fact, courts have examined whether dogs can be, taken up or down floors in lifts, and they have held that
Yeah,
dogs can
can
be,
be, yes. Only
taken
then you
up
have
or
to
down
just
in
clean up
lifts.
if they, yeah.
If they, of course, that
Yeah,
is that
that's
is
the common
basic
sense. Yeah,
civility.
yeah, yeah,
That's
true.
basic civility. That's expected from everyone, but nobody can object
But the
to.
reality is different. See, what the court says and the reality in the various apartment pockets that we see across the country in
Yeah,
various states is
yeah.
different. So when they find that a non-pet lover or non-animal lover, they go and stop the person, and they start abusing them. So then there are five other apartments who comes, and they kind of start shouting, yelling. So every time, it's not really possible for them to show the court paper. Hey, this is the court paper. That doesn't works
Okay,
like that.
I have 2 points to make over here. First of all, I think India should shed its binaries. This lover and hater business is only dividing up the country even more. We are divided up on languages, we are divided up on caste and whatnot. We don't need another lover hater divide in the country. I think everybody is just, should just behave like responsible citizens and allow all around them to carry out their fundamental duties or whatever constitutionally enshrined duties they have. Second is that RWAs are suddenly becoming governments. That's the problem. RWA kya hota hai? RWA is just a society which is registered under the Societies Registration Act. It's an NGO. Like just like an NGO cannot tell me how I should live in my house, whether I can keep my mother in my house or not, whether I should keep her in some other room or whatever. It's absurd, right? So RWAs need to be kept in a check, and people should know what an RWA's powers are. Clearly, RWAs can make their bylaws, but their bylaws have to be subservient to the laws of the state, the laws of the center,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
finally the
But
constitution.
that's true, but unfortunately, that's not the reality.
It's basically gundagardi.
So yeah, absolutely. It's gundagardi. It's ignorance.
Yeah.
It's low mentality, whatever you call. So in such situations that you have been working in this field for quite long, what do you recommend to our viewers? What they should do? Of course, they have an option to go to a police station, but sometimes they don't get a solace there as well.
Yeah. So I feel that first of all, we should know our own rights before we know what the rights of the animal are. Our own rights are very important to us. We should stop overestimating the powers of RWAs. RWAs, since they are registered under Societies Registration Act, if they are arm twisting residents, then complaints can be made to the Society's registrar. That they are acting in a quasi judicial manner, which they don't have authority to, and therefore any notices which are illegally served should immediately be challenged legally by the group of students. Of residents who are harassed, and this should not. Sometimes police doesn't take these cases very seriously. So a direct complaint case before a judicial magistrate can also be filed under BNS section 3.
So these points will really help us viewers to understand, because many people don't even know what to do. So that ignorance at times really puts them in a lot of turmoil, because someone facing this issue only know how grave this issue could be at some point of time. I'll come back. What role do you think individuals can play in shaping animal welfare policies in India?
First of all, learning about what the existing policies are, demanding and raising voices, asking their MPs, their MLAs for better policies. I think that is something every citizen can do. Every citizen can, at least on social media, ask their municipal corporations to run a healthy animal birth control program in a transparent manner, so that it's not just animal welfare. It's all intersectional. When we work towards animal welfare, we also work towards public safety, we work towards public health. It's all connected. If there are puppies happening everywhere, if the dogs are littering, it would lead to dog bites in future. It would probably lead to more cases of rabies. So keeping dog population under check by a good ABC program is something all of us should be responsible for, and our responsibility can at least go to fixing accountability on our municipal corporations.
So I'll come back to the question on ABC program a little later, but a lot of data that actually floats around about dog bites, etc. I feel that those are erroneous. From I don't know from where people just pick up those data. Even at a factual level, those data are wrong. So recently, in the last almost more than a month, we have been seeing a lot of data floating around in the country. What do you think, and what's your take on those kind of data points that's coming about the dog bites happening?
So we conducted a proper study to see where is this data coming from. 30 lakh bites, lakhs of dogs are biting. I mean, this is a very grave situation. So we figured out that the data that's being actually projected as dog bite is not individual dogs biting individual people. It's the number of vials of anti-rabies post-exposure vaccines that are dispensed from hospitals. And for every bite, 5 doses are given.
Correct.
So 5 individual dog bites are recorded.
Right.
But these dog bites, not all come from street dogs.
Right.
Because a lot of people are keeping Rottweilers and Alsatians and Doberman and God knows what all in their tiny apartments. For some status symbol, these dogs are not getting exercise. They're not getting the kind of environment they're used to living in. So, or they're supposed to, their body requires, like huskies.
True.
Ab now wo to kaatega hi na. So a lot of these bites are coming from pet dogs.
Forget about huskies, I find people keeping even Saint Bernards.
Yeah, true.
It's such a shame of someone keeping a Saint Bernard or a husky in India, where they can't bear the heat.
Correct. So typically, you have more contact with a pet dog than with the street dog. Hence, the pet dog bites actually are far greater than the street dog
Yeah,
bites.
yeah.
So that number is also getting added to this. Then there are some bites. Probably a monkey has bitten, or some rat has bitten. Somebody in my office
Yeah.
only got bitten by a mouse in the house, and she went to Safdarjung hospital. They recorded it as a dog bite, and then she objected. She said no, but then government of India has asked for a certain format to be followed, so that you are, asking the person who is bitten, asking the patient ki, is it a dog bite, is it a street dog bite or a pet dog bite or whatever. You didn't ask me any of that. You just recorded dog bite, but it's a mouse that bit me. So they said, jalta hai, whatever. So another thing is that sometimes people go on to these hospitals, they get a parchi made, and then they say, okay, dispensed so and so anti rabies. But then that person doesn't go and actually take the vaccine, he just comes back. So that again leads to false data.
Yeah, so it's much lesser than the actual data, way lesser, way lesser.
Much lesser.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So how can animal birth control, the ABC rules basically of 2023, be effectively implemented to manage stray dog population as per you?
We should learn from UP. We should learn from Uttarakhand. They have done remarkably well because the program requires good monitoring, requires good budgetary infrastructure, budgetary allocation for infrastructure, for vehicles, for program implementation. Now, these two states have actually at the state level been very vigilant. They have had regular meetings, regular reporting, a transparent program, good infrastructure, not like on whims and fancies like most municipal corporations do. Aaj chal raha hai to kal band. Nothing of that sort, but a very stable program. So they've seen a steady decline in the puppy sighting. These are indicators of a good ABC program, that you don't see puppies. You don't see lactating mothers. You don't see a female dog on heat and 20 dogs chasing
Right,
it.
right.
So when you stop seeing those indicators, that means your program is working. And your dogs are calmer because, neutering an animal is a good management policy in any
Yes,
species.
yes.
Like even in bulls, you can't really harness a bull, but if you neuter it, it becomes a bullock.
True.
Then you can harness
True.
it. Or even a horse, since I run a horse sanctuary also, I know that ungelded horses are a nightmare to deal with. But when you neuter them, they become much more shant.
Much calmer,
So
yeah.
the same thing is with dogs. Once you neuter them, aggression goes down, biting goes down. In fact, most of the biting is because dogs are picked up from one location and dropped in another. Now, dogs are typically territorial in nature.
Yes, true.
If they come into new territory, they become nervous and then they start biting anybody who comes in front of them because they are scared of other dogs in that territory.
Yeah,
They're fighting for their lives.
True.
So that leads to fights. Now, sometimes what an RWA does is they want to get rid of the dogs in their area. So they call somebody, they pick up the dogs and chuck them elsewhere.
Right.
Probably in a basti or someplace. There's even more garbage, more dogs, and then they fight, and then the poor people get bitten. While these people sit pretty for probably a few weeks, jo RWA, the one that got rid of these dogs, but only for a few weeks.
Yeah,
Then new
absolutely,
dogs will
true.
come in.
Yeah.
And these new, unneutered, unvaccinated dogs will basically amplify the problem. So, what was the regime before the animal birth control rules? Let's see. Dogs were allowed to be killed. Municipal corporations regularly killed the dogs. Even before that, before we became independent, the British regularly killed dogs in the country. In fact, they were poisoned, they were caught, they were dumped here and there. Did that get us rid of dogs? No. The dogs will always bounce back. The population of scavenging animals will always bounce back so long as there is garbage in the cities. Now, if you look at places in Delhi where there is very little garbage, you'll see very few dogs, right? It's the filthy places that have more dogs.
Got it. So, what role do you think education and awareness can play in promoting responsible pet ownership and reducing stray dog population?
Stray dog population will only reduce with a good ABC program. for the good ABC program, we have to hold governments accountable. Once we are holding governments accountable to run a properly funded, transparent animal birth control program, we'll see that our cities will change. I did that. Like, I was just another citizen of Dehradun, and for 10 years, I saw that the city was struggling with so many dogs. I held my city, my state accountable. I took them to court. I said, you will do this because you're statutorily obliged to do it. And when they did, I helped them, of course. It just doesn't stop at finger pointing. So I helped them do it. And now, 90% of the dogs in Dehradun are all sterilized. You don't see a single puppy or a lactating mother or whatever. And bites have come down. Everything's much better. We should do that in Delhi. Delhi is struggling with 20 immensely corrupt animal birth control centers run by an even more corrupt municipal corporation that for decades have actually not run a transparent, good program. So they should probably copy good examples.
More I hear this and listen to you, I understand that there is so much more to do. Though India got freedom in 1947, are we really free out of those corruptions? Now, these corruptions are really, really, bothering and hindering a total ecosystem at large, much deeper, which will not only impact the society and all our children ahead in terms of the way they think about humans and animals living together.
True.
But this would nowhere take us and move us that shield towards being an advanced country ever when this kind of things actually happens.
In fact, see, if it's a benefit of a scheme to a human being, if the money doesn't hit his account, he can say corruption, right? So a human has the advantage of speaking up. A dog is not going to write to the CM portal saying, my neutering is still due. So, dogs or animals can be actually abused in that sense. There's so much corruption in the ABC program here that sometimes, organs have to be counted. Organs like genital organs that are removed after surgery from dogs have to be counted in order to release payments. None of this is ever done. Some of these centers don't do ABC surgeries at all. They just make an invoice and split the money between the MCD officials and them. Because the program is covered under RTI, it's a government funded program, so it's covered under RTI. We asked for, anesthetic procurement records. Surgery kiya hai to anesthesia kharida hoga. They have none. We asked for vaccine procurement records, that it's basically along with sterilization, you have to do vaccination also. So you must have bought the vaccine. It doesn't match up with the number of billing that they're doing for surgeries. So basically, it's all lies. It's just all lies. That's why Delhi is struggling. That's why Delhi has so many dogs even after 25 years of an ABC program. We are hopeful that this government will change the entrenched corruption in the system.
Absolutely. We are also hopeful that, India would evolve as, what Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi told us, that if you really cannot love animals, you really cannot grow up as a prosperous nation. With this, let me, thank you for, coming on in this such a beautiful program, because I am a true believer that if you really cannot respect animals in whatever form it is, you cannot be a good, genuine, nice human being. Thank you so much.
That's true. Namaste.